Hi, welcome to I Waited, Was It Worth It? I'm your host, Jade Jabri. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, I want to introduce myself and say who I am and why I feel like I should be speaking on the topics that I'm going to be speaking on. I am a mother of two young toddlers working from home during the coronavirus of 2020. So I want to say, just like that news anchor man whose kids came running in and his wife did that whole tuck and tumble to drag him out, pardon them if you ever hear them making up noise. I got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, okay? But I'm a professional, and we gonna keep this as professional as possible. My decision to say, let me speak out, because I realize I have been going through some things that there's times when you go through things and you don't realize what it was until you're out of it on the other end, or getting out of it, and you look back like, wait a minute, the saying goes, hindsight is 20/20. And the hindsight that I've gained, I feel like is important and should be spoken about so that it helps me when I speak about it. I process out loud, and where before I used to think that was a negative thing, I realized how much it has really helped me on my journey to healing and growing. And so while processing out loud right now with you guys, it's helping me heal, and hopefully it can resonate with somebody and either get them started on their healing journey, revamped on it, or if you are a support person of someone going through something like this, you will be better educated, more informed, and more helpful. Also, my studio audience, my producer in the background, so every once in a while I might shout them out, because I want this to be a dialogue, not a, and one day I said, I like to have fun. Other thing about me, analogies are my lifeblood. You rock with me long enough, you're going to hear them, you're going to be like, oh, dang, that was good. Not big up myself, I have, these are the reports I've gotten back, okay? Analogies, movie references. I love to make good movie references. Some of the movies, now I'll be honest with you, I was a sheltered child. I have not seen the whole movie, but I've seen enough to know that my reference is like, it matches, it's important, or whatever. My last thing, I'm a Christian, a believer of Jesus, so I speak Jesus-nese, Christianese, is that a word? That's how when that I speak it, okay? And so every once in a while, it's gonna get a little churchy up in here. Y'all need to go with me. Let the Lord use you, okay? And if not, I will bring it back around so that it can be, everybody can understand. But a lot of the churchy things are pretty universal that I may or may not bring up. All right, so that's some of the things I went through were actually emotionally abusive. That's my disclaimer. There's no official diagnosis. I'm not diagnosing and saying that's what it is. I'm saying based off of my experiences and my research, this is what this series is about, particularly narcissistic abuse and emotional abuse and healing and overcoming. So how did I get into a narcissistic relationship? Let me tell you. So background, we're going to take it back. When we got in this relationship, I was 21 years old. It's my first real relationship. Prior to this, I was not really checking for nobody. I Waited, Was It Worth It is partially based off of I waited until I was married to have sex, because that was my personal conviction and my belief. I grew up, yes, like I told you guys, I was a Christian. It was taught in my home, don't have sex until you get married. It was, I believe my mother was strict about it. It was like serious about it, but it was not like, and if you don't, we gonna shame you and kick you out the house. It was never that threat. It was just what it was. I'm not one of those people who was told not to have sex but then had no sex education. My mother was very thorough on the sex education. I'm gonna take y'all into one time. My mother, she was very good at segueing anything into sex, okay, into the sex talk. I don't know how many sex talks I've had in my childhood. One time we was outside just playing, chilling. She gonna make a fallopian tubes and a whole uterus out of some sticks and rocks, and was like, let me tell y'all about reproduction. Okay, go ahead. So no, I was aware of sex protection and all those good things, right? But I had made a decision that, I'm going to wait. And wait till I'm married to have sex. And the way that I went about implementing that decision was just not to really talk to boys, not to be more than friends. And I had a boyfriend in high school. And side note, I respect that man way more now, because he broke up with me because I couldn't do enough stuff. It seemed ratchet and wrong then, but I respect his honesty, And I wish other people could be as honest. They wasn't. I digress. So I was virgin until I got married, and just kind of kept a low profile. I didn't go out, didn't do too much. I was, like I told y'all guys earlier, sheltered child. So when I went to school, we was friends from 8 to 4. Didn't have cell phones, But now I'm 21. I'm an adult. And prior to this relationship, I was, like I said, just really not putting myself in a position. I felt like, it's easy not to have sex when you're not in relationships, right? But I had been talking to God. I was like, God, I think I'm ready for a relationship. So I started Googling and really reading my word and trying to figure out, okay, well, I don't want to just be in a relationship to be in a relationship. What do I need to work on with myself first to, be better for this relationship? And y'all gonna go with me. I'm gonna take y'all back and forth because, like I said, hindsight is 2020. Now I realize the flaw in that mind of thinking, or that line of thinking, that there's nothing you can really do to be ready for a relationship, because a relationship is going to bring out new things and different things. Hopefully you are in a safe space in a relationship where y'all can grow and grow through these things. Or when you see the red flags, like, oh, you're not really about my growth or betterment for my life, I'm gonna dip up out of here. Listen, I think somewhere along the way I put myself in a religious cult where I was on the extreme about myself. I had decided that I was judgmental, that I was mean, that I was blunt, and that I was aggressive with my words. So when I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to work on that, because I don't want to bring that sort of attitude to a relationship. I want to be a good girlfriend and wife one day. And so that would require me to be a good listener. I don't know how true all that was about myself. I realize now the person that I was judging the most was myself. But I took that as I judge everyone too much, and people don't like when I say and what I do. Listen, okay? Go with me here. So I'm in that space. I was very rough on myself and trying to work on who I was, what was my purpose. Like I said, I was in school. I believe at that time I had gone to school for 2 years, undeclared, just taking classes because you're supposed to go to school. And I had the grades, so I was up in there, right? And by this time, the classes that I had taken, my counselor was like, well, you can do these, you can major in these things because you've already done so much in this space. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll major in communication then, because that'll get me graduated in time. It wasn't like, this is what I want to do. So yeah, I just went with whatever was like, oh, that's enough to get me graduated on time. And so I say that to say I wasn't really aware of what my purpose. Are we all looking for our purpose in life all the time? But I hadn't had a direction. I was working because it was like, that's the job that hired me and things like that. So, but I was in a space where, okay, I want to, get to know myself better, but I wanted to figure that out so that I could be ready and open for a relationship, not just for the sake of myself, which would be, the right reason. Digress, right? So I met my ex at work, and I said all that because, like I said, I was naive to relationships and the situation. I was overcritical of myself. So overcritical of myself met at work. One day I was subbing at his site, and the kids were like, oh, Mr. So-and-so, you like her? It's like, kids, calm down. Went back to my site, wasn't tripping about it. And we all went to like a big training. We exchanged numbers, and on our first date, we went to the arcade. It was fun. It was cute. Played the games, won the games, and then we sat in the car for a little while and we talked. And he was very honest and open about his past, his flaws, the things that he was working on, and the things he felt like people would think are deal breakers. He's like, let me just let you know up front, these are the things that I've been through. And typically, they would have definitely been deal breakers, red flags. It's too much. Ain't nobody got time for that. But he had met new, open, less judgmental, don't be so critical of people, Jade. So I went and I was talking and was like, but this may not be a deal breaker as much as it is a personality thing. Like, people go through things. So to an extent, okay, yeah, I was being a little judgy. Like, that's making him a bad person because the things that he'd been through, right? So we won't push forward. And so as we pushed forward, we, dated and hung out. And like I said, the virginity thing, he understood, he accepted, he was willing to wait. And that was like a big deal for me, because the few times that I did, try to date or talking with people, that was usually either a challenge for them, like, oh, I'm gonna get you, or like, oh, no, I'm cool then. Either reaction was okay with me. I never told anybody to like get at them, but it's a thing that you want to bring up, right away, because I don't want to waste your time and I don't want you wasting mine. It was cool on it, and I felt, to a degree, I felt special, like, oh, here this person is waiting and is willing to do this for me. So it felt like a big deal, or not a big deal, but like a big thing. So digress, right? at the time, now hindsight, I'm learning that boundaries are important, setting them in any sort of atmosphere. And it's because it helps you. And so my boundary, like I said, was waiting to be married. I learned in that time purity versus virginity. You can be a virgin, but not be pure in your actions, pure in your thoughts, pure in your words. Up until this point, it was never challenged. My virginity, it was never an issue. But now I'm in a relationship with a person I really like, I really love. And so things would go further than we wanted them to. We were praying on it, going to God on it, going to parents, counselors on it, and saying, okay, let's focus up and get this right. And the thing about it, even in that, I took that as how do I want to say, not special, but you're willing to go through all these things with me. That, I appreciated that, versus seeing it as you putting us in all these things. Like, yeah, I had boundaries, but I felt like, and he was pushing them, but I felt like we were pushing them. So the thing about narcissism, and the beginning of a narcissistic relationship, is called love bombing. It's where the relationship goes fast. If I was a person who was going to have sex, then that would have occurred earlier. It's I love yous very early. I think that you're my wife very early. It's marriage talk and this thing called future faking, where they talk about this grand future but not really intentions on it. And so looking back now, we started dating maybe in November. By December, it was I love you. And by the next December, we were engaged. And I look now at I have a journal that when we were going through some hard times, I started writing in my journal, because it was like, God, I want to make sure, this is what you have for me and what's going on. I wish, and this is my advice to anybody and everybody, start journaling. Journal. And when you do journal, be specific. I usually wrote out of anger, and I did not write what I was angry about. So now when I go back and look at these journals, I'm like, this is kind of vague. What was I talking about? But we were going through something, and I was writing, God, I feel like his character is a little shaky. He says he's going to do a lot of things, but then he does something else. I'm not my will, yours be done. Please help me to not judge him, to show him grace, and help him to grow, and help me to grow with him while we go through this. I'm his girlfriend, y'all, not his wife, just the girlfriend. And I'm asking the Lord, like, is this a relationship you want me to be in? Like, I'm not sure. But I write these things in my journal, and it would be just like that, a list of things that were, I see now, huge red flags. And then me asking God, just give me the patience and the grace to go through this with him. Whole time, he wasn't going through. He wasn't making the changes. I was hoping that, he'd see he's selfish. You can be kind of selfish with your time. I'm not a priority. I'm asking, to spend time, and you're doing other things. And I'm not doing, outlandish, like you need to be with me 24/7. But when we first started dating, we were together, not 24/7, but if we weren't at home or school, we were together every day almost. And if we weren't together, we were texting and talking for like a big chunk of the beginning of our relationship. So then eventually things died down. It's like, well, no, at the honeymoon phase is for everybody. The honeymoon phase was intense. So you go from constant communication to, let me get back to you when I can. Oh, my phone was off. Oh, my phone died. I lost my phone. Let me chat. I'll get back to you when I can. And it's like, well, what's going on? And just trying to, again, I don't want to be too needy. I don't want to put myself out there and get rejected. And that was something that I was personally dealing with, but didn't have the language for, is that I feared rejection and I didn't like to feel like thirsty, not just in that relationship, in any relationship. I would maybe reach out to you once, canceled on me, okay, twice, I'm done. Not cut you off and you're canceled, but I'm not going to keep preparing myself and you not meet me halfway, right? So that was a big thing that partially that's what this is. Talking is because to say, okay, I felt like I wanted to say something. I don't want to put myself out there and nobody receive it or they take it badly. I'm just going to stop. Child, when my relationship came to an end, I came to God real quick, fast, and in a hurry. Said, okay, what was you saying to me? What do you want me to learn, sir? Oh, okay. Put myself out there and know that you're going to be there with me. Don't worry about nobody else. Oh, all right. What you want me to say? I'm on camera and action, Lord. Yes, sir. You're not going to yell at me twice, okay? You're not going to do this. I'm obedience. It's better than sacrifice. That's the lesson, one of the many that I've learned And so I said that about my journals to say I would be asking God, and I recently hindsight was like, God, what was the disconnect then that I can see now? You obviously answered me in plain English in my own journals. If I'm saying this man his character is shaky and I'm not a priority in his life, and I'm not sure about where he stands on his faith, and there's your answer. Get up out of this. Get up out of here. But no, I chose to instead, like I said, I think I put myself in this cult. Nobody was holding me to it. I chose to say I'm going to pray and hope and be a light to this man. At the detriment of I could have done all those things as a friend. And it definitely shouldn't have been doing those things if that's not what he wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? But he would act like, oh yeah, I'm in it just long enough for me to be like, oh, okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And it's okayed, apparently, according to these journals, for the whole second act of our relationship, right? And so next time, what I'm going to get into is that emotional abuse has, I want to say, not shaped me, but how now I can see it. You know, that's the other thing. Hindsight 2020. Ain't we in the right year? So, but I wanted to introduce myself and give y'all some background so y'all will know, like, girl, how you get in this? Because when I tell y'all, I had enough sense to keep journals. I got about 3 journals from dating, marriage, and I had started a journal post-divorce or separation or whatever it's called. Child, that's a whole different ball game and learning that I'm doing. So, but I kept these journals, and I'm looking at some of my journals like, you is so dumb. And then my therapy and my mind is like, no, you were not dumb. You were naive. You were tricked. You were smart. You are better now because of because you have knowledge. And that is the truth. And that is the truth that I want to leave you guys with right now, is that you are not dumb. You are not stupid. You did not make a mistake. You did not waste your life or your time. You better now. You know better now. And even if you know better today and still choose the wrong thing tomorrow, that is okay. The Lord gives us grace. And that was one of my big lessons, that there is grace in the gray. I would look at life as black and white for a long time. And when I had to make the decision of divorce, I was judging myself and saying, I felt like if this happened, I would be done. It'd be over. I would never even consider a second chance. But I did. And I was like, well, why? What is that? That's the gray area of life. Things aren't black and white. You don't know what you don't know. You can say all day, I would never. How dare you? I can't believe you did it. Until you're faced with that actual situation, you have to decide what you're going to do. So don't judge yourself too harshly. Give grace to other people who may be going through something. Like I said, if you're a support person, give grace. Don't judge what they're doing and what you think should be done, especially if you've never gone through it. Don't judge yourself based off of the things that you said you would never do when you ain't never gone through it. Now you're here. Like I said, I personally go to the Lord, go to my counselor, go to my friends, and know that there's grace in the gray. It's not black and white. You are okay. You can be okay. My suggestions would be journal. Get help through a therapist or a friend. Right now during the coronavirus, there's a lot of telehealth therapy and things like that. And you don't just have to be calling about how the coronavirus is affecting you. But truthfully, this could be flaring up a lot of your issues, and hopefully you can get down to the nitty gritty, but do not suffer in silence. Speak, and let your words be unto your own deliverance and somebody else's, okay? You may be helping the next person out, and if you're a parent, you are definitely helping generations before you out. That is one of my goals, is to get this healing, get this help, so that my children don't have to go through the same emotional abuse I did, and if they, God forbid they do, at least they have some tools and some vision on it. They're like, I know what that is. I'm not doing that. All right, guys. So like I said, next time we'll get into what it was actually that ended my relationship and how I dealt and am dealing with it. Thank you guys for listening and tuning into I Waited, Was It Worth It? We're going to answer that question throughout this series. Bye.